having the second part of our debate section, and also the session to talk about alternative theories and practices. And our first speaker is Muto Ichiyo-san. He is one of the founding members. He is one of the founding members of the Asian Peace Alliance. He has been involved in peace movements and movements of anti-militarization in the Asia-Pacific region. He was also a promoter of People's Plan for the 21st Century, which started in 1989 in Japan, and he's an advisor for both ACFOD and FOCUS. He has written prolifically in Japanese and English on social movements and the question of Japanese statehood. And you will find his paper in English and in Chinese on the Global University website, where he talked about the questions about Japanese statehood. So now, please, Muto-san.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm not very sure whether I can really get my ideas across to you, because I was told first that this is a debate. So I picked up from among my papers some debatable part. And the debate, I think still it's relevant, because I want to talk about People's Alliance. Movement, People's Alliance. Movement, yes, we are in some ways in different movements. Activities, it can be called. But anyway, you move and we move, and so it's movement. Movement has some purpose to achieve. But are we to be satisfied by achieving our specific goal? Probably not. And I think the people here are those people. So we are talking about big things, no? Ecology, for instance. Then you have to work together with other people who may have different views. So we need movement of movements. That's a formulation by not a single person, but there's a person, Ventura de Souza Santos. I think he's a famous person, active in the arena of World Social Forum. And I found a very good formulation from him that says, WSF, World Social Forum, was a passage from a movement politics to inter-movement politics. And inter-movement politics it is, and we are engaged in various inter-movement because here we represent different movements. So if we are a movement, then we are already inter-movement. Then what? We haven't yet fully formulated, fully thought about it. That's the beginning of my inquiry, and there are many, many things that should be clarified, and deeper research, empirical as well as theoretical, is necessary. One point we have to keep in mind is movement should also be related to inter-people movement. Movement is a people's movement, yet it is not the community as a whole or the nation as a whole. Anyway, the active part of the population who are keenly interested in certain causes, certain purposes, started. Where are the people? People support it at a certain time, millions can demonstrate. But next year, what will happen? There's no guarantee that the same millions will turn out next year too. So unless the inter-people movement is based on people, on the people, and if they represent different categories of people, then it should be based on inter-people relations. So that's the most difficult part of it. I think it is important for people who already know well and who are already mobilized, get together and adopt a statement on a certain situation, human rights in a certain country or that kind. But the statement in many cases ends up there and do not actually mobilize the people. Only the people who are already in agreement with you. So how we can create People's Alliance on the basis of movement, our movement, which is already, as a result, movement, yet we have not yet fully realized its logic, its, how can I say? For instance, people, we are here, and I know it's a result of a very, very wise and patient activities of certain people, no? I don't name any single person, but I know that single persons contributed. Who are they? Are they leaders? Well, we have to put that question. Who are they? How can the gathering of this kind is made possible? I think there are mediators. People's relations are not commanded. It's not created by command from the above or majority decisions. No, there should be certain agency already inside the group and groups who actually initiate some moves and mediate. Well, I think this characterizes the new movements, maybe since the end of the last century, and will now be the dominant form of people working together. All theories has it that the party in the Marxist-Leninist idea, it's the vanguard party, mediates. It leads the people, and leads the people, and vanguard fights for itself, and it should be prepared against. Okay. The sacrifices, dedicated, etc. It's not mediation, but leadership. Mediation, I think, is replacing partly and must replace increasingly the vacuum which used to be filled by the so-called vanguard party. So this is very problematic, and so that's why I expected a debate. If there's some more time, I think that mediation is mediating for something. For what? For interaction. For interaction between groups which are separate or which are not altogether happy with each other. In all those groups of people, communities, which already think that they are already independent and nothing we need kind of attitude. No? So isolation. Mediators are there inside those groups. I can find in any groups someone who want to see beyond the community barriers. And there are people, some people are educated, formally educated, but others not. And in the Japanese case, many times school teachers play that role, good school teachers, though, and medical doctors, the practitioners who know the population, and they get upset by what the government is doing, what the corporation is doing, and then they begin to move. So that's mediation. And they stay inside the community. The case of the Vanguard Party is to find such people and pick them up from their environment and get them together in a solid organization under the Central Committee. So this caused all the problems because this formation is a formation of the state, and so the party is a pre-state. But what we need to do is to let those good people who look beyond the barriers, stay inside and begin to move. Let them begin to move, to create interactive relations with other groups. Sometimes there are very harsh relations between groups, but they have to live together in the same world. So we have different experiences of antagonistic groups, like tribes in mountain area at loggerheads for years historically. But when the dam project came, what happened was that one of the leaders of the group went around and formed a peace treaty that was called Peace Pact. I think that's a great thing. Peace Pact has some contents, not just we never quarrel, but resolves some of the problems that was the cause of the conflicts, like the use of water. So that is a practical interaction coming to a certain rule and agreement, charter, I would say. I think such should be the way we can gradually create People's Charter. People's Charter for global alliance of people, which will really realize autonomous people's world, this is a very rough presentation. That's how the direction in which my thinking is going. I think why I think such is possible, from some experience, I'm not talking about it, but I feel that there's a reason for people to come together without renouncing contradictions. No? Contradictions you can't force to disappear. Yet you can allow, you can forgive. If the contradiction, the root of the contradiction is addressed, just coming together with the exploitative relations, oppressive relations retained, then such an alliance would collapse. Such is a political alliance. And political alliance collapses as soon as the goal is achieved. One more thing. Since the interaction between groups involve relations of producing something, that's a reproduction of our lives, then I think some sort of articulation, economic articulation, should be pursued. Well, my very rough sense of history is this. In Russia, the Russian Revolution went astray because the alleged farmer-worker alliance was broken. It was broken not by Stalin, but before Stalin. Stalin was already there, but it was in 28 that they had great harvest in the countryside. Yet the urban development was retarded and failed to provide fertilizer, agricultural machines, etc., etc. And therefore, no supply of, because the farmers refused to supply. And so Stalin sent compulsory requisitioning teams. And that totally worsened the situation. And that's the beginning of the crisis of the Soviet Union. So, and Pol Pot did exactly the opposite. 2 million Phnom Penh population, of course, couldn't be maintained in such a country. So what they did was to send urban people, professionals into the countryside and subjected them to forced labor. But the failure. I think the Chinese Revolution is in between, no? Between Russian model and Confucian model. So I don't go any further. Maybe 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.